All right, we're heading into the top 5 albums of 2017, in my opinion. In my very, very ignorant opinion, because as I discussed before, this is possibly one of the least musically explorational years I've had in terms of the number of albums I listened to. But whatever, these are all still great albums, and I'm not at all sad to have them and to have any of them on my list and to be able to talk about them at length. So next is, oh yeah, okay, of course. I forgot this in the last video. I forgot this came out this year. It feels like it's been out forever. It has that classic feeling. And let me tell you about a dream I had once. This was years ago, but I still remember it really well. I think this might be my favorite dream I've ever had. So in the dream, I was riding a train, and Jay-Z was there. And I decided I would talk to him. And we had a really good conversation where I talked about all the things I liked about his music, and he told me kind of like how he chose to do those things. It's like, yeah, Jay-Z. And then he confided in me. He's like, I just don't know what to give them anymore. Like, I don't know what would make my fans happy. And I said something like, I think you gotta like go back to that Reasonable Doubt sound, you know? Like you gotta really show that you understand your own roots and that you wanna bring back that. I said something to that effect. I know that he mentioned Reasonable Doubt. And then he's like, that's not what you can't just tell me to what is that like make another classic? You can't just tell me to make another classic. How do people expect me to do that? Just make another classic. I was like, I don't know. And then I woke up and I like really remember that because I was like, how did I have that dream? What a crazy dream. But I knew like I'm not one to overanalyze dreams and stuff and think about like the symbolism or whatever. But sometimes there's a pretty clear message. And in my mind I thought there must be something I want from Jay-Z that like this must actually reflect my true desires for a Jay-Z album and my realistic pessimistic understanding that yeah it's not easy to just make another classic, but here I think he did it, guys. I think it's another classic Jay-Z album. It's one that I would actually put up there with Black Album, Reasonable Doubt, Blueprint One. Like I, I don't know. He just, I don't know what, but I think the production is a big part. The production on this album is godlike. Every single song has such sophisticated crafting to it, and nothing has been phoned in. It's not like one of those beats where you can tell there was almost like a committee behind it that was like, we need this popular sound and this popular sound, and can we make it 15% more dance hall and 12% more trap. But instead that it was like a really intimate relationship between him and his producers that they knew that they had to get this story across. And here Jay-Z is talking about all of the current really like race relations, political issues, which of course are a huge clusterfuck in America right now. But he's interweaving that with like his own personal experiences and not kind of just like Jay-Z's story is incredible. Like we should always take a moment to really appreciate that. And this is a man that went from living in the Marcy projects and getting shot at and selling crack to meeting with President Obama and having dinner at the White House and being the richest couple in hip hop. And I want to say like all of entertainment, but I don't. That might not be true. Um, and usually Jay-Z focuses on that first part of the story about that overcoming, right? Which makes sense because that's amazing. But here he really ruminates and gets real about what life is as like a billionaire couple, what it's like to be thinking about your art investments and your property investments, and the struggles that he still faces. Like, of course, the big kind of story with this album is that it's the other side to Beyonce's Lemonade, where on Lemonade, Beyonce made it pretty clear that Jay-Z probably cheated on her and she wasn't happy about that. But in doing so, she created a fantastic album. And now Jay-Z, in response, makes this very soulful, revealing album where he talks about some of the same issues and talks about how he regrets it and he just wants them to stay together. It's kind of like his apology letter. And it's a fantastic album, too. So at this point, I'm thinking, like, maybe I'm kind of happy that Jay-Z cheated on Beyonce. Because we got some really good albums out of it. But that kind of feels cruel. Um, but yeah, like he brings this family to the forefront in a way that makes it feel like I don't know. It's hard to make the life and struggles and concerns of a person that wealthy and that successful. It's hard to make it feel real and for it to have an emotional resonance in your own life, especially for someone like me who I don't know, my lifestyle is very, very, very far away from his, and I think my ideology around wealth and multi generational wealth and stuff is very, very different from his too. But I still felt it. I still felt the emotions underlying it. So yeah, the beautiful, beautiful album. I really recommend everyone to check it out. Even if you're not a fan of his rapping, even if you're not into the whole storyline of Jay Z, just to hear the production, just to see just how exquisitely it was put together, like especially on like the story of OJ, which everyone has been praising to high heaven. Oh, and check out the music videos too. He's making music videos for like every track on this album, taking a page out of his wife's book. And they've all been fantastic, like a real crazy mix of genres. The one with like the black parody of Friends was mind blowing. Yeah, good stuff. All right, what's next? Oh, baby. 2 Chainz for the girls like trap music. So I have my Fio X1 MP3 player. This is my buddy, and as I said at the start of these videos, not just the amount of time that I spend listening to music has decreased, but the circumstances in which I listen to the remaining percentage of the music that I listen to has also changed considerably from like this, with my nice Sennheisers, sitting at home, contemplating the music. Yes, quite good. To mostly on this guy, my little buddy, and my earbuds. Just kind of wherever I get the chance. If I'm doing something at work that I know probably people won't interrupt me for a while, or if I'm riding the bus somewhere, or whatever. So as a side effect of that, I love this thing, but maybe the worst part about it is how long it takes to scroll through all your music. And you can jump around letter by letter, which is cool. But a lot of the times, I just want to like listen to something right away. So I'll turn it on here. We'll go to full screen, and then right at the top, you can see. Well, this is my MISC folder where I put just like singles and stuff where I don't want to put whole albums. But then right after that is our boy 2 Chainz, and then within seconds I can be listening to Pretty Girls Like Trap Music. This is such a banger. Yeah. And I did that a lot. I did that a lot this year. There was many circumstances where I wasn't sure what to listen to. I knew that I had like an hour where I was going to be listening to music, so I wanted to listen to some album. And I knew that I wanted something fun, something not overly distracting, but with so many little good parts that if I ever did give it my full focus, I knew that I would be wholly enjoying it. Something with good variety, something that's kind of funny sometimes, but it's not like hysterical, and it has kind of grounded moments too, empathetic moments. This album had it all. It never disappointed me. It never let me down in any one of those categories. It's really, really well put together. Every single song on it has some element that elevates it beyond just kind of like a throwaway obligatory track. Whether it's a feature, there's fantastic features on this album. Um, he gets such a good performance out of everybody. Nicki Minaj, Sway Lee, Gucci Mane, um, or whether it's like a beat change or some like crazy flow experiment, there's always something to kind of hook you and to make every song special. Um, and in these regards, in this sort of aiming to elevate it one step higher, it really feels Kanye-esque. And it reminds me of Coloring Book, the Chance the Rapper album from a few years ago in that regard. That they're looking now. Like other rappers have gotten to the part where they're looking, maybe not reaching, but they're looking at Kanye's albums. And they're like, we could put an album out like that. There's nothing stopping us from putting an album out like that. If you'll forgive an extremely strange, inappropriately timed anime reference, it's sort of like how like KyoAni is like really really good at slice of life, but now Doga Kobo is like, there's nothing stopping us from making a slice of life album that good or a slice of life anime that good. Right? And they're not there yet. But you can tell. They're looking at the KyoAni slice of life and they're like, what if New Game was that good? So there you go. I put it in terms that no one will understand. I think the only people that would understand that aren't watching this video, but whatever. Yeah, I think I can't praise this one enough. And there's a moment at the end on the final track, Burglar Bars, which has this like really lovely sentimental finale feeling to it, where 2 Chainz is shouting at the people he loves and thanking the listeners and talking about how great he is in general. And he says something about, I did everything but a track with Ye, but I killed every track that I did. No. I said that backwards. I never. The only thing I. Wait. The only thing I didn't do was a track with Jay, but I killed every track that I did with Ye. And in that moment, you think about like all of those Cruel Summer tracks that 2 Chainz did with Kanye, and you're like, yeah, you know what? He did kill every track that he did with Ye. And then you kind of get this picture like of his whole career, and you're like, man, this is the king of the trap. Like, I don't know. It's almost like a reassuring feeling. You're like, yeah, 2 Chainz is out there for me. I think he's a really interesting guy. Like the more I read about him and watching interviews with him and stuff, like I think he's pretty great. And smartest thing he ever did though, changing his name from Titty Boy, which would require me to scroll all the way down to T, instead 2 Chainz right at the top, right at the top. All right, but I think the next album on this list has come about for a similar reason. So maybe you can guess what it is because of that. It seems ridiculous that there's 2 albums in my top 5 that I'm pretty much just almost admitting outright I chose because I listened to a lot, and I listened to a lot because I didn't have to scroll very far to get them. But sometimes I'd listen to Pretty Girls Love Trap music, and other times I'd be like, all right, we're gonna scroll down a little bit. We're gonna listen to that 21 Savage Without Warning. Yo. So this is an album 21 Savage put out with Offset from Migos. Whoops, I should show you it. Bark, 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 bark. I love the album cover. Whoa, 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 whoa. Ah! Ah! Without warning. They dropped it almost without warning. I think they gave like 12 hours notice, which is still some warning. So yeah, 21 Savage and Offset, entirely produced by Metro Boomin. Metro Booming. What the heck? What? Why did I type G? I think that's just muscle memory. I put G. Metro Boomin. Probably still the strongest producer right now in Atlanta. Just an absolute genius, and able to accentuate perfectly these very different styles of rapping. The 21 Savage has refined this really kind of slow, methodical, mumbly, kind of disinterested, kind of evil seeming rap with Offset's like explosive, virtuistic, athletic, like 15 syllables a second, um, triplet flows all over the place, really almost like explosive. I think I already said explosive. Just having those two styles on the same beat is hard, but Metro's beats like bring out those strengths in each of them so perfectly. The whole mixtape has this wonderful Halloweeny, creepy vibe. There's even the It's a Nightmare on Elm Street track, which I love. There's a real focus on an element that I think shows up in a lot of Metro Boomin beats, where he has this really delicate piano. It's sort of similar to the Zaytoven piano, but it's like purer than that. It's like abstracted to the point of like an Arvo part. Arvo part, the minimalist composer and his movement of, I think it's called like Tinabulum or something. And basically there's this idea he came up with where you just have like really minimal sequences of notes that become like really hypnotic and pure. I think Metro's beats are like ascending to that level, of course, with the underlying trap drums and kind of heavy bass and all those things that we love because they bang in the whip. Um, but yeah, and there's, because of this kind of flowing aesthetic, there's some really nice kind of song to song transitions and multi-song climaxes and stuff accumulating in the final track, Darth Vader. Oh my god, when the beat to Darth Vader starts coming in and it's this like almost this like fog descending around you, but you can already anticipate the precise and powerful lyrics coming out of it. That's got the 21 Savage line where he's like, "I just talked to my accountant and I chuckled." So good. And Offset on the hook with the, "I bought the plane, Philippe. They said I was being too extra." I don't. There's something about that line is just so addictive and so compelling. There was a lot of these lines that I just found were stuck in my head for days on end, um, but that I was like excited that when I heard them in my head, I was like, yeah, in a couple hours, I'm for sure gonna get to listen to this again. I would just like look forward to it. It's funny when I said that in a couple hours, I did a gesture like I was checking my wrist, but I don't wear a watch. But whatever. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. This is some of the most fun I had listening to music this year, or with just the genre in general. Um, I don't think since kind of the first times I was getting into Young Thug, have I been so excited to just have the opportunity to hear certain bars again and to just once again capture that fleeting rhythmic genius. And you're just like, oh, I can't believe he said that. Oh, all right, all right. So what do we have that can top even this? Something, there must be a real true masterpiece of trap done by someone whose name occurs even earlier in the alphabet, like hashtag Zero Savage. Or something. No. Next thing is completely different. It's not. There we go. It's Ellen Arkbros for organ and brass. So I found out about this album when I linked a friend of mine some song. I think it was Juicy J and Offset's Flood Watch. So another like trap banger. I was like, man, this song is good. Like, I think this might be my favorite song this year. And then he links me back the title track from this, and he's like, this is my favorite song of the year. And I don't know if he was doing it just for like the juxtaposition, like the funniness of how different these songs are, or if it was genuinely his favorite song. But I started getting into it. So kind of getting back to like our Arvo part, Tinnabulium, or however the hell you call that thing, discussion. This is some very intensely minimal music. Like the name implies, it's an organ, this very old, 500-year-old pipe organ being played by Ellen Arkbro, along with a small brass ensemble playing, I think, euphonium and a horn or something, and it's all about these long, long chords where basically they all just hit the chord for maybe half a minute or so, and then maybe a couple of the instruments will shift, or some of the notes in the chord will shift up an octave or something. It doesn't really sound like that, but it has that. It's nothing but that. That's the entire album is just these very slow chord progressions. Um, wow, sounds like a blast, huh? So again, very, very different than trap music. But this was also something that I would listen to at work a lot. Not in the same circumstances where I would listen to something really fast and explosive like Jalen or Eglu Ghost or Tofu Beats. Things where I'm just like grinding through a bunch of numbers or something. Nor would I listen to it in situations where I was doing kind of more leisurely, laid back stuff like filing, where I might just put on some trap, just kind of like, bounce along with it. I would turn to this album in situations of intense stress and intense, uh, complex tasks where I had to send a bunch of emails or something. And typically, my least favorite parts of the job. But listening to this, I genuinely felt a sort of transcendence and almost this disassociative feeling where this is going to sound crazy, but I really almost felt like I was just watching myself and that I would be able to perform everything I was expected to do in this kind of neutral, robotic mode, and that I could just kind of take a step back and breathe and observe myself doing it without worrying, without getting too much of it, and that my whole office seemed to be kind of bathed in this calm light, and that I would be looking at other people. Maybe they were frantic too. Maybe they were calling people or frantically typing, but it would all seem very distanced. Like we were all just kind of remembering it. And I don't know why, like, it couldn't all just be the music. Because as I said, the music is fairly minimal. There's something more psychological and physiological going on. I think part of it is the fact that it was my friend that recommended it. He's also a big fan of movies that are shot the way that this sounds, insofar as there are very, very few cuts, very long shots and sequences of things not really moving or doing anything. Um, and I don't know, I quite like these movies too, but I'm not as big a fan of them as he is. But because of this, I kind of felt some aspect of his personality reflected in this album as well. Not that he himself, his personality isn't like that, but the fact that he has these two tastes, and between those two, you get a sense of personality. If it's not his personality, then at least there is like a personality. And I think it was able to kind of bring forth within me not just like the music, but a conception of the intent behind the music, the emotional intent and the intellectual intent of Ellen Arkbro when she composed and performed these things. And that I think really helped, make it so impactful on me and so interesting to me. Like I'm often interested in these like very hyper minimal type compositions, and I listen to like noise and stuff too that really trends towards the sheer experimental side. And usually I like find it interesting and I like thinking about it. But it's not so common that I really get emotionally impacted by it. But when a song like that or when a genre like that is able to hit me emotionally through whatever context and circumstances and kind of this projected, extrapolated personality or whatever it takes, if it's able to get a foothold in my heart like that, it becomes really, really powerful and potent. And this project was definitely something like that for me. So really enjoyed it. Okay, are you ready? For our number one album of the year, this is one that I didn't see on any top music lists, and I was so disappointed. It is, of course, the unofficial EP that you make by taking all of the songs Frank Ocean made and putting them together. Alright, so obviously I'm kidding. This is not an actual release. He just put out several singles, some released as himself, some where he featured on other tracks. And I listened to all of them so much, and would often listen to all of them back to back, that it's like, you know what? No, this is it. This is the winner. So no, this didn't actually win. I've got a real winner after this, but I do want to just point out how amazing it is that Frank Ocean is still making the best music of his career. I think like Blonde last year, masterpiece. Channel Orange, of course, godly. Like, we'll never forget those albums. But I think I like these tracks better. I think Provider is like my favorite Frank Ocean track ever, which is crazy. And so like that's happening, and then as we discussed, Tyler the Creator also possibly making the best music of his career, and such emotionally mature and open and like boundary breaking music. And then of course Earl is a savant and genius in his own right, and I can't wait to see what he's coming up with. But isn't that amazing? Odd future. We're really out here. What an odd future, to say the least. Perhaps it is because we are living in this more stupid and confusing world than I ever possibly imagined, with Donald Trump as president. That odd future has been able to excel and evolve in such an amazing way. But who would have guessed it? Who would have guessed 8 years ago, listening to the Earl's self-titled or Goblin or whatever, and thinking like, damn man, these kids really are the reincarnation of '98 Eminem. This is some filthy music. And thinking like, yeah, these guys are hilarious geniuses, but you never would have thought this sort of music. You never would have thought they would come this far, and it's such a joy. It's such, I feel almost proud, which is ridiculous, but I do. As someone who's been listening to them the whole time, I feel proud of how far they've been able to come. Okay, but this doesn't count. So my real winner is Process by Sampha. Sampha, whatever. I had heard of him for a while now. He had done features here and there, but last year he was really predominantly featured on Saint Pablo, the final track to the final version of Kanye's T-Lop. And I love that song, possibly one of my favorite Kanye songs ever. Even though it's not even my favorite song on the album because it loses out to Ultralight Beam, but whatever. Really, really amazing song, and his feature was just so moving and so powerful. And soon after that, he started teasing singles from this release. He did the live performance of No One Knows Me, like the piano, at my mother's home, which made me cry when I watched the live performance, and I was like, all right, this guy is the real deal. And then the album delivered so hard on all of these fronts. You know, it has the aforementioned sad piano ballad about his relationship with his mother and his relationship with music, but it has so many other genres and styles and feels. Things like Blood on Me. I can't even think of the titles very well because I listened to the whole thing all the way through, like every time. Blood on Me, which is like fast and urgent and has this sort of sense of danger to it. The opening track, Plastic 100 Degrees Celsius, just like ethereally beautiful with these delicate harp strings. Some of the later tracks, the Timmy's Prayer, Reverse Promises, settling into almost this kind of like minimal production with kind of like loop based and stuff, and it has this real kind of like bedroom quiet aesthetic that I actually often get from Frank Ocean too. And then through all of it, the one constant is his voice. His voice is so good. I don't know what it is. It's kind of like this half falsetto, Sung tone that's just so resonant and angelic. I really don't know. I don't know how he does it, but just fantastic music. I am so impressed with this. It's one that I think I'll be listening to for a long time because it hits like an emotional mode that very few other albums hit for me, which is one of not just kind of outright bleakness and sadness, and not of one of like hype either, but more just like a very contemplative contentment where I'm just kind of entranced and hypnotized, and really all I'm thinking of for the entire duration is like, man, this is good. This is good. This is really good music. So, you know, as I said, this list is largely marked by songs or by albums that I listen to kind of just out of convenience or because it really fit the task at hand or to kind of just get me through something. But this is one that I still kind of listen to in the old way, where I didn't want to do anything but listen to it, that is, where I wanted to make time for it specifically. Um, and hopefully at some point in my life, I'll be able to regain that sort of ability, that time to be able to dive into albums with that depth. But even if I can only make time for a couple a year, this is a good one. This one was worth it. This one was worth taking up one of those few slots. So yeah, check this one out. I recommend this one to everyone and anyone. If you get the part in plastic 100 degrees Celsius, it goes, and that's where your beauty appears, and you're not just like, hell yeah, then you can stop. But I don't think anyone can possibly do that. No one can resist the hell yeah when he gets to that. All right, that's my list. I'm pretty happy with it. Like I said, it feels kind of like an ignorant list. Like I know there's a lot of other albums that I've heard of and heard great things about that I feel like I would love. But at the same time, I would feel bad to kick off any of these. I think these are all fantastic albums, and I'm really glad to have been able to share them with you. Lots of trap, bit of grime, whatever the hell this is. Yeah, a good year. Good year for music. Okay. Bye-bye.